Hello, everybody. This is Train of Thought, the only podcast about the Laugh Tracks comedy show at the only bar it's at, the Club Car in Baltimore City. And we have coming to the show an icon, a legend, the moment, and he is here. It is Christian Balmer. That's where the applause will be. Woo!
Oh, thank you, studio audience. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
they are very raucous. Christian, can you introduce yourself for said studio audience? The brief elevator pitch of who you are.
Yes, I'm Christian Balmer. I've done a Laugh Tracks show before. I've had the honor and privilege of getting up to Baltimore and playing that room. It's very, very fun. I recommend checking Jake out and all of his shows because they are all lovely and he always has such a talented, usually gay lineup. Am I
Usually.
am I right for
Yeah,
yeah. I
statistically, it averages out to like a 5 on the Kinsey scale, I would say.
There we go.
Yeah.
So what more do you need to know? I mean, get your tickets to the next thing. And I'm a comedian. I have been doing comedy for a little over 2 years now, so
Yeah.
I'm still kind of a comedy baby. But I've tried to accelerate my rate of growth by doing open mics as often as possible and just saying yes to everything. I'm sure you're probably in the same boat of just anytime something you get any kind of offer, you just say yes
Yeah.
immediately and
I would
jump
love to
on it.
drive to Chambersville, Pennsylvania on a Thursday night for a show in the only bar that
Yeah.
offers smoking indoors still. So I get that entirely. So it is insane that you've only been doing comedy for a little over 2 years. We will get further into
Yeah.
the comedy thing, but I thought you had been doing it longer. Time is really fake, isn't it?
I only look way older than I really am. I'm only 25 years old. I look
That's
like I'm on my second child,
That's the
and
other thing, because you don't look like that. Because I do all the research for the podcast. I'm like, okay, yeah, Christian's like my age. He's like 29, maybe like 31. Like,
you know,
weak like that. But he looks good for his age. And I look at you, I'm like,
I look bad
oh,
for my
no,
age.
no, you
I look
specifically
I look
don't look
beat.
like someone who had their or college years possibly interrupted by COVID. And I always forget, like, oh, I'm the oldest person in the room now. That's where I am. Um, but that's not the room you're in that often because you are currently in Stafford, Virginia. Is that correct?
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm speaking to you from.
Which is wild because, like, to be fair, I am a cartographer by trade. That's what pays the bills for me to do
Okay.
bullshit like this. So therefore, I should know where Stafford is. But I had to go and confirm that's like an hour outside of DC. So you're like
Yeah.
driving an hour for all of
That's
these
what
gigs at least.
that's why I stay looking tired and beat all the time. It's just because I spend most of my time in a car, in
And
my car.
how do you do that? And do you plan to change that anytime soon? I know it's always the busy ask where it's just like, when are you going to move on up? When are you going to go into the big city?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I did that for Baltimore. I was living in like Pasadena, Maryland, and I was in Baltimore every single weeknight. I'm like, this is dumb. I'm just gonna move here. So do you have plans to get on up to the big city, or do you like the drive? Because sometimes I miss the drive.
I hate the drive,
Yeah.
and yes, I wanna move closer. I can't move into DC quite yet because of money. I'm
Hmm.
just gonna be frank with you, it's
I
so
mean,
expensive,
yeah, it
but,
is the most expensive city in the country. I think it beat San Francisco recently.
seriously? Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. It's ridiculous. It's such a shame. It's my favorite city. I'm biased. I've
yeah.
lived in and around DC my whole life. I did live in DC for a couple years
Okay.
while my dad's former partner and him were living together,
Hmm.
and that was just I wasted so much time that I could have been doing comedy. I could have been going out
it
and doing the things I'm doing now, but I didn't have the I guess I well I'd say I didn't have the drive, but I really just didn't know about all this stuff. Like it's
yeah.
such an underground thing until you open it up and realize how much is actually going on.
Yeah, and then you're suddenly aware, like, oh, this is where everything's happening. Because everyone else is
Mhm.
just stumbling upon an open mic while they're trying to have a nice dinner, and suddenly they are subjected to Everyone's hot takes.
Yeah,
But
but that never even happened to me, and I used to
yeah,
think of myself as, like, a restaurateur of, I would go out. I pretty much exclusively went out to eat, and never,
yeah,
not once did I stumble into a comedy open mic. So to those people who do, and when I see them, I'm like, "Man, I envy you," because if I had done that, I would have been signing up for these, like, like 4 or 5 years ago during COVID,
way.
probably when they were on their way out, but still.
Yeah, I mean, they still happened, and I didn't go to many of them, but I did see the pictures, and they seemed bleak, so you didn't
Yeah.
miss much. They were all
So maybe
outside,
not.
they were
Maybe
all
this was
very
the
distant.
perfect time for me. This
That
was
the
when it
timing
was
was
supposed to
perfect because it was
happen.
your timing. But
Yes,
you I think we have something in common, which you've actually never talked about. You are a band geek in the same way I am. I played
I
saxophone for, like,
am.
10 plus years. I just this past weekend finally gave it the goat, and I was like, "You know what? I'm not gonna touch this again. I'm gonna put this away." I gave it off to a friend. I am no longer a saxophonist, but you are still a trumpeter, and I have to ask,
Shame
were
on you.
you in the marching band?
I was in marching
You were
band. I
in
was in that
marching band.
episode of SpongeBob. I was the
Band
drum
geeks.
major. No, I'm playing. I'm I yeah, I've been playing trumpet since middle school. So do the math on that. I graduated high school in 2017.
I mean,
Many,
we
many years, almost 2 decades now, I'll say with my chest.
oh,
Actually,
you
no, more like a decade and a
a
half.
decade, yeah. It'll be a decade, in 2 years, so you are
Yeah.
because you were specifically, I would say, like, this old or so when
Oh,
you were
put that shit away. Get that out of here. Where'd you
Do you
find
still
that?
have the
Facebook?
tux? I love the clip-on tie. You were ready. Were you
I
first
don't.
chair? This is giving
Those were
first
our
chair.
I don't know if I was that year, but I was
Yeah,
first chair for most of my
there you
tenure
go.
in the
Yeah,
concert band. But when around my last year wind ensemble, it was a tight race, and I always fell flat on my face, I feel like. But I always made honor band, always did
yeah.
this stuff, and I was trumpet section leader for
Okay.
3 years, my sophomore year, junior, and on. I was co section leader 1 year with someone, but
Do you subscribe to the, stereotypes for the different sections for band? Because I remember being a saxophonist and, like, the stoners were the low brass and like, percussion was, like, all the jocks and, like, the class clowns, and then flautists and clarinets were, like, type A, uh, valedictorians, top of their class. Did you have that?
yeah, it's always some variation of that, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's never the exact same for each school, but
yeah,
they fit somewhat neatly into a grid,
into the hierarchy.
into the hierarchy, the caste system.
And you currently still play because I was mentioning I dropped off, but you are in a band
Why?
currently.
Hang on, I'm putting this back on you. Why did you stop?
So,
Are the reeds too expensive? What is it?
well, yes, but also the college I went to did not have a football team, let alone like a good
Mm,
music program. So it was not something
sure.
I continued on to do. I took college and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna continue doing improv comedy, which worked out just as well as you would expect. And maybe if, like, the school I continued to go to had more musical options, I would have continued. But also, I was never first chair. I was always second chair. It was always like a social thing. I enjoyed
Mhm,
all my friends being in the band, and then I left said marching band, and all my friends were gone. So, you know what?
mhm.
I picked it up because I was a fourth grader who saw a teacher played the Jaws theme on saxophone,
Yeah.
and that was really exciting. And I never learned it. So I was like, you know what? I have other things to do. I am quite
Mhm.
busy. So it's still there. I can still read music. I can still pick it up if I need to. But, you know, we're just so busy. We're all just so busy.
True that.
hmm
True that. I mean, I hear it, but there's always something that you can do with it. There's always a community group or
Yeah.
some BS online that you can find, like you're talking about, uh, clicks and things
Yeah.
in real life. But there's stuff like that on Reddit or on. I mean, I could go on and on, but there's always something that you could be playing for or practicing toward, and it
Continuing with.
always makes me shed a tear when I hear somebody's giving up on their instrument.
It's still I would say it's still there. It's not still there. I just got rid of it. But the skills are there, and I can always appreciate it when I hear it. Every time that saxophone solo comes
You're gonna
on,
find a clarinet in a pawn shop or at like a
uh-huh,
thrift store or a flute or something, and
it's
you're
gonna
gonna pick
call
it
to
up,
me.
and then you're gonna learn a new instrument, and it's gonna come back. It'll find its way back. It always does.
It always makes its way back, and I mean, like, I've done everything else at this point. I've truly been this entire week preparing for the next artistic bullshit endeavor, which is a burlesque number, which is why I have it in front of me, so I have to show it. I've been rhinestoning a fucking Old Bay can for the last week.
That's awesome.
It's very shiny,
Wow.
so maybe once I burn
Yeah.
out of this, I can go back to music. It'll be there waiting for me.
That's gonna
It's
be
like,
my
yeah.
mom's next handbag.
Oh
I'm just
yeah,
gonna get her one of those. I'm gonna
just a little
commission
one
you.
around the shoulder.
Yeah.
Um, but so it's interesting playing to like a brass instrument in the comedy world because I know like a lot of musical comedians usually do like guitar. I know a couple harmonists, etc. Something that really plays into their act. Have you ever like dabbled with that, thinking like, what, this is gonna be the combination of my two things that I do on the stage, or are they very like separate spaces for you?
Right now, they're pretty much separate, but I do want to combine them at some point. It's just tough when I hear you say there's people who do harmonica. That
Oh
even
yeah,
shocks me because my reservation is that I need my mouth to do comedy
that's what I
for
was
the most
thinking. Yeah,
part, and then you have to go back and forth. It's tricky, but
yeah.
I've had a lot of fun lately playing music at gigs and then making jokes in between
Uh,
the legit music,
yeah.
and that always gets a lot of laughs because nobody's expecting you to crack a joke of any kind when they're listening to like a really serious jazz ballad or something like that. So I am slowly but surely combining them, and I did do before we move on. We did do one show at Fat Pete's where I had a bunch of comedians, people I'm sure that can play an instrument like
Okay.
people who can play sax or guitar or sing well. And I had them learn a jazz song to play with my band and then do a regular set too. So it was like back to back comedy, then straight up music, and just rotating through people. And Daphne London, who I met
Yeah.
at your show,
Really, you
she
hadn't met her
kindly
before?
I had never met her before. She
Wow.
kindly headlined that for us. So she did My Funny Valentine and it was amazing.
Oh,
And
I
she
love
did
Daphne.
all of her sex jokes on the
Mm-hmm.
guitar. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, again,
Mhm.
that's the fun part about doing laugh tracks is that you meet so many kinds of different people who are doing all kinds of weird comedy stuff. I have not booked her yet, but I'm hoping to do so for June. There is an act out of DC who her whole set is she just does her nightly routine. She does her face wash and brushing her teeth and flossing. And then at the very end, she just asks a question, and that's the entire set. And I was like, you know what? That's perfect. I love that shit. I love something that's not just like, so what about my wife? I hate her. Like, there's
Uh-huh.
always something fun about a little bit more to the shtick than just your standard bits.
Is that Ruth or is this someone
I think
else?
it's Ruth. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that freaked me out. I'm not gonna lie, Ruth. If you see this, I want you to
Uh-huh.
know you came to my open mic and you brushed your teeth,
Uh-huh.
and then you spit the toothpaste out into
Yeah.
the cup of water,
Yeah.
and then you drank the water, and I
Yeah.
almost threw up into my
Yeah.
lap. I
That's
was like,
art.
I was like, oh my god! And
That's
it's
comedy.
and you're doing her a disservice by calling it just a nightly routine because she's putting lipstick in a
Uh-huh. Oh,
spiral all
yep.
over her
Yep.
face and
I mean,
everything.
is that not
I
how you
was
end your nights?
flabbergasted. Yeah,
Because that's
yeah,
how I go to
right.
bed.
Maybe when I'm sleepwalking, but never
Mm.
never intentionally.
No, again, it's always fun to have just something a little bit more to the act than just that.
Yeah,
And
something more niche, something that you're not going to see every show. Yeah.
exactly. And speaking of stuff you see every show, this is what we call in the business transition. So you
Oh,
started a little over 2 years ago, I would say like probably early 2023, I assume. And would you
yes.
say that is like the beginning of like you doing stand up proper, or was it, Here we go.
No more down memory lane, please. Oh
I don't
God,
know.
what
I
is
feel
this?
like you being the Joker, the Batman, and Tommy Bahama all at the same time would be, pretty comedic at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Plus, you have your camera
that
there. That's
was
like a normal gig.
that was a costume party,
Yeah.
and that camera I think that's the one I'm using right now actually to
Really?
record.
Okay.
And that was I was dressed up like the Joker from The Killing Joke though. That's why I had
Oh, okay. That makes more
the
sense
is that what it is? Where he's in like the beach
because that's the
outfit
one
with
where
like
he
the
shoots
beach hat?
Oracle, right? And
I
like
think so.
yeah,
It's been so long since I've actually read any of that shit, but I
yeah,
mean, that's what I was going for, and it was a Batman costume party.
yeah.
So no, I was not doing stand up as the Joker ever or prior to 2023, but I started at the Electric Palm when I
Okay,
found an open mic there
yeah.
and signed up. It went semi well. I ran the light and I
Sounds
was
right.
like, "How much time do I have left?" And Dwayne White was like, "You're done. Get off." And I
Good.
was like,
We've
"Oh
had
shit,
enough.
I'm fired." But when he found out that was my first time, he cut me some slack, and
Yeah.
I've been addicted ever since. It's a disease that afflicts us comedians that we go back to open mics
So
constantly.
is that something you had thought about doing before you had found out about Electric Palm, or was it something you're just like, oh, an open mic, I could do this because you had been going out to shows. Like I know you would see Nicole Byer at like I think the DC Improv and a couple other places, and like just going out and actually seeing stand up because there's a lot of folks who just like see the ad and they're like, I could do that. I don't know what stand up is, but I could give the old college try. Was it something that you had been working towards, or you just sort of came across it and thought it was for you?
I had been a big fan of stand up and improv uh, throughout childhood, so
Mhm.
I've been like tracking comedians and watching them from from all ranges. Bernie Mac was a big influence on my
Really?
whole family. Yeah, I'd say my interests were more toward, as sad as it is, like the Rogan sphere of comedy before it really just went off the deep end and everyone became hyper red pilled.
Yeah. I mean,
They're they're
there's
all
a sweet
insufferable
spot.
to me now.
There was a
But there
sweet
was a
spot right
sweet
there in the
spot where
beginning.
I was a big Your Mom's House fan with Tom Segura, and I saw
Mhm.
Christina Pajitsky was going to be my first time seeing stand up live, but
Really?
she had to cancel the date, and that's when I ended up seeing Brian Simpson instead
Okay.
at the DC Improv, who I mean was outstanding. It was a great show. I think Paris Sachet opened for him,
Sounds
Christian
right.
Escoto, all like the usual
Yeah.
suspects were there, and I had no
Uh-huh.
idea
Who they were.
about any of them or who they were. And then
Mhm.
come to find out, I'd be seeing these people everywhere.
Again and again.
But I saw Brian Simpson, and then the very second thing I saw, I want to say was well, no, I think it was I saw Christina when she had a make good date for that
Mhm.
show,
Yeah.
and then the third was Jessica Curson,
Okay.
and I was just gonna go see the show at the DC Improv like any other. But the day of, she actually released like a seminar beforehand that you
Oh,
could also get tickets to, and
okay.
so I did. I signed up, and it was just kind of like for beginners, just giving you tips and tricks of the trade, what to do when you're starting out,
Yeah.
and attending that seminar again, just all the usual suspects, Trey Solo, you know
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, Trey.
Um, and all there were all kinds of people there who I'm sure I know now, but I just can't remember. But the person who took a picture of me and Jessica together was Mara Finer, and
Really?
when I started signing up for open mics, um, the one in Woodbridge was my first
Mhm.
one, and it really stuck. Um, Later, I'd sign up for Nightcap, or I tried to get on Nightcap, and that's where I saw Mara, and that was the first example of someone I had met in person actually
Oh.
doing the thing,
Uh-huh.
and that's when it like really clicked for me of like, okay, let's make this happen. Let's make this like a full time grind because I can see the stepping stones of
Yeah.
like, yeah.
The line all the way up.
Hmm.
That's that's the way it goes, especially for a scene that is subjectively as small as DC's. Like, I met Mara on a show that Gray West did, and now Gray is like running the door and running a lot of shows at the Comedy Cellar in New York City. And sort of like, yeah, you are in these rooms with these people, you don't really realize who they are, and then suddenly, oh, looking back, these are all the people I talk to every single week. We're the ones doing these mics together and just trying to make something out of this that is worth
Yeah.
doing.
People who find this like a time capsule 10
hmm
years later, they're going to think we're just name dropping famous people because, I mean, they really are just going to shoot off. It's only a
uh-huh.
matter of time before one of them gets plucked to do a show or
Oh,
to do
1000%.
a movie or, to go on tour with somebody and open for them.
As someone who started doing comedy stuff with Scott Cease, now known for Cocaine Bear and all those
Mm,
TikToks about working at IKEA, which I will say I've not said on the show before. He never worked the front desk at IKEA. He was doing social media management. He never worked with customers. That's an exclusive about that most famous comedian in Baltimore whose name is not Stavros. So I it's so weird. I was at a party last week, I think, and some guy was telling me like, "Oh, I ran into Stavros at the park the other day, and we took a picture, and it was so great. And he's so funny, and so nice." He showed me a picture. It was just some guy who was
just
Greek.
some fat guy.
It
Oh,
was just some
no.
guy. I'm like,
Oh,
I don't know how to tell you that is not who you're thinking of, but I'm glad you had
mhm.
a good time at the park. Um,
Oh,
so you've been working now, I think it's been at least over a year, if not longer, because it changed from sweeps to like comedy gym, running your own mic and having a space specifically focused on like new material and feedback, which I think personally is kind of like a rare thing to do because it's a step above your standard like open mic offerings, and B, it's trickier because you never really know what sort of feedback is going to be helpful, what sort of feedback is going to be welcomed, because sometimes people don't want to hear it, even if they go to the mic to hear it at. So can you like walk me through a little bit the origin of that?
yeah. And I want to say too, it being a feedback mic and people being averse to, I guess, unwelcome ideas.
hmm
I always try to frame it as like this is just constructive. This
Yeah.
is not, you're not coming here to be roasted. You're not coming here to be flogged or any of that. We're not trying to tell you how to do this thing that you love and that you've been practicing and writing for all this time. But what I do try to offer with the panel uh, are at least three different perspectives that you might not have
Yeah.
had going into comedy. So, and I try to change them every week. Uh, the exception being my perspective because I'm usually the third panelist because I can't find three people to do it each week. but but at least you get three people who are sitting there in that room that can give you a new tag for
Yeah.
a joke that maybe you couldn't think of by yourself, that maybe your mind was headed in that direction, but we're just accelerating, helping you accelerate the writing process by just throwing out ideas or like free word association. It's really just a catch-all of constructive feedback and punch up. Mainly
Yeah.
that's, we changed it from keep or sweep to the comedy gym because of the punch up aspect.
Mm.
It's not because it's this prestigious um, hoity toity, like this is where comedy happens
We
type
do
thing.
it here.
I wanted to call it punch up, but that name had already been taken by an existing mic, so
Yeah,
went with the
that's the way
next
it
best
goes.
idea.
Like there is, I think, five other laugh tracks across the country, and
Yeah,
I
man.
would not have picked the name. That was the name the venue picked because they are a train themed venue. So it was just
Oh,
front of mind for them.
I love your branding. I love the rails. It
I
looks
mean,
so classy too when you put the flyer together. I was like Duke Ellington, like take the A
exactly.
train type
It's
vibes.
You can tell it wasn't made in Canva or using AI because there's a small level of class to it. And by that I mean I downloaded a font. Um,
There we
so
go.
was doing a feedback mic something you sought out to do when starting like an open mic, or was it something that sort of
No,
came up as an
no.
option?
It was offered to me
Okay.
by Rolla Z. Rolla, have you met her?
I actually haven't,
Um,
no.
Follow her on Instagram. She does all types of um, I'm trying to be sensitive here without just sounding racist or something. She does a bunch of Arab shows.
I mean,
So
I
but
looked up
her
her Instagram to put it on the screen, and it's just some Arab woman.
Okay,
So
good.
yeah,
Thank you.
so
I want to make sure I don't sound
yeah,
culturally insensitive, but her showcases are called Funny Arabs. So she
okay.
puts
Funny Arabs and
a
friends.
whole
Yep, I
Arab
see it right
lineup
here.
together, usually at the Kennedy Center. So
Yeah.
she's hopefully uh, for much longer, but it's not looking like that with the new.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's really sad, but she
Yeah.
for a long stretch now it continues to perform there and at down at the wharf at the what's that called, Union
Union stage.
Stage. Yep, right
Yeah.
by the anthem. She needed a place just to walk in and practice jokes because she doesn't like going to open mics. She hates the experience of going to an open mic
Yeah.
and getting crickets and nobody responding. So she's like, "Can you run this and just let me come through whenever
Whenever I need to.
and you
Yeah.
can do it and it's yours." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Hell yeah!" So she hooked up everything with the venue with the guys at Aurora Market,
Okay.
Pablo and Rahel. They're amazing. Pablo Ortiz, follow Aurora Market on Instagram. They're lovely people. And she had the idea of making it something where you can go there, but you can also get advice and
Yeah.
get. But her idea was like for the whole crowd to participate, and that's how it started.
Okay.
But it just got way out of hand,
Yeah.
and the amount of signups we even had then, as small as they were, was it was just causing us to run late because we would just have a big giant discussion at the end of everyone's set, which was
Yeah.
no longer feasible. So I instituted the panel, and
We're only gonna
I've
have
never looked
three.
back.
That's it.
Yes, three people. We hear three perspectives and no one else, and we're moving on. But it's a fun time, and I'm glad it happened because I do see a lot of people get some value out of it. I I'm pretty sure we have the most beginners coming through to ours because once they find out about it,
Yeah.
they realize, oh, like this is a place where it's not quite a workshop, but I can get tips that I can't get from other places because when
Yeah.
you do an open mic, it's everyone they're in their notebook and they're getting ready for their set and they're not really interested in helping you out
No.
or telling you where to go next or how to improve.
No. I feel like we're all just waiting for the bus, and by the bus, I mean our time on the sign up to go up. No one's ready to like workshop or provide like tips or even like a quick piece of feedback. And I think that's been the thing I enjoyed about coming to the mic has just been sort of like, yeah, something I learned really early on is that like anytime feedback is given, it's not a requirement to take. You don't have to take this if you don't want it. I have gotten so
No.
many pieces of feedback where it was useless, it was not as helpful, where they're just like,
Hmm.
you got to make it less gay, you got to make it more gay, you got to do it like this. And it's like, I didn't even ask for that. So the places I can find to literally ask for that, it's like, you know what? I'll take these three, I'll leave these two. These two can stay in DC. I'll bring these three home and we'll take it with us.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great space, and it's also a rare space. There's not that many feedback oriented mics, which I think makes it a special place that you're running. So
And
props to
it's
you.
not infallible.
No.
Some people come through and I feel really bad when I can tell that like all three of us were like, I don't really have anything, but it was great. Good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Great stage presence. I
Keep
mean,
pumping. A for effort. Good enthusiasm.
but that might be a good sign to those people too of like, hey, I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
Everyone just likes what I'm doing and they don't have anything to really say or offer. That's
Yeah.
great. So
That's a good sign of good work. No feedback is good feedback sometimes. And speaking of feedback, something I really like about what you do, your posting game is deeply unhinged, and we'll talk about that after the break. But you about stand up specifically, you post a ton of your material, and I know for me personally, I really struggle where I'm just like, okay, I've done three mics and I can get maybe one or two TikToks out of this that I think are worth posting, or like I'm really, really picky in a way that's probably not helpful. But you tend to post a lot too about like people like heckling, or like I think I saw one recently where someone kept going like, that's so funny. That's real good. I really like that one. That's really good. Instead of laughing and you were riffing on that. So even the like lack of the traditional joke structure that works on in a reel or a video or a TikTok, whatever the fuck like that. Is there like a thought process that goes into it where you're thinking like, okay, I got this much footage, I'm gonna make this much out of it, even if it's not representative of like my jokes, this is like the thing I want to take away from this and like get out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've adopted the general model of just posting crowd work or just
Yeah,
posting genuine, authentic interactions in the moment of the recording instead of like my whole setup, punchline, everything. And anytime I post a joke that's like a setup punchline, it's only ever like the first half or the second
yeah,
half of that joke, or just a section where if you come see me perform it, it's actually longer and more thought
bigger.
out.
Yeah.
So I'm really only leaving crumbs when it might look like I'm putting the whole meal out there for free. But I do think that I enjoy editing the stuff that's
Yeah.
uncomfortable and that where I'm just digging in and prodding someone who clearly does not want to talk to me or is like irate. Like there's this clip of a guy who's like actually yelling at me that I'm trying to figure out how to make funny and not just like dramatic.
And not just like I'm worried, I'm scared a little bit for them. Like I
Yeah,
hope
yeah.
everyone's okay in this video.
But I mean, I honestly don't think I post that much. I'm trying to post more, but for every clip that I've put on Instagram or on YouTube Shorts, there's probably like 12 full
Yeah.
length videos that are just banked on YouTube. And also it's not just because I don't want to share jokes and only crowd work. It's also because most of the open mics I do are to no laughter whatsoever, and
To
it
no
was a
one, to
bad
no laughter. Yep.
performance and to
Yep.
nobody. So there's
Uh-huh.
not a lot to work with.
Which is why for most of my mics I'm like posting one or two clips at most because like, okay, yeah, most of this was just nothing. I can't even
Yeah.
like edit around this to make it look good. Um but yeah, I think there is always something to be said about like the posting of it all, where it's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, okay, yeah, I recognize you're out and about and you're doing stuff, not because I've seen you in person or not because like I have heard something, but just because you're present, you know, you make a name for yourself, you make a face, and it's like, oh yeah, I know them, they're there, they are a face going on. Like some of the funniest people I know are the worst at their socials, at the worst at like advertising and promoting themselves. And it's like that weird unfortunate thing where it's like, yeah, you could run this entire East Coast frankly, but you
Yeah.
just you're not online,
They
you're
just need
not
a
chronically
manager.
online.
They need somebody, yeah, who's chronically doing that for them on their
Yeah,
behalf, and then the sky's the limit.
that's it. Um, all we need is somebody else to do it for us. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we are actually going to cut to a quick break, and when we come back from said break, we're going to get into the most outrageous uploading schedule that I think I could see, which is about your podcast, the LNC podcast. But until then, we will be right back. Hey folks, we are on our break right now where we talk about upcoming events at our host venue, the Club Car, as well as tease the next coming lineup for Laugh Tracks. So this weekend is Queerscape, part of Artscape here in the city of Baltimore. So Thursday night, the day after this comes out, there'll be a dance dose communal dance class, and then a Shakira dance party after with DJ Grinder. The whole night is called Hips Don't Lie. It's $5 in advance, $10 at the door. That is Thursday, May 22nd. Then Friday, Knock One Back, the music of Connor and Smith and other fun songs. You know, shows at 9, doors are at 8. And then after that, it's the All Aboard Drag Show, Theater Queen Edition, $5 in advance, $10 at the door. Shows at 11 p.m. It's a drag queen show where they're doing theater songs. What more can you need? Saturday, the Big Queer Makers Mart, 20, count them, 20 local vendors from noon to 10 p.m. and it is free. Then after that is Glory Hole, Glori Hole, live music, DJs, drag, We've got Steely Mans, we got Jesus Vice, we got Ivana Pizza, we got DJ Temporary Boyfriend, we got Ari Vox and the Sad Labs, we got Gloria, we got Plant Dad, Chaotic Couture is going to be there, Manners, and of course tarot readings by Glitter Witch. It is a huge weekend coming up at the club, so please don't miss out. And also, we are still nailing down our June lineup for Laugh Track, so stay tuned for that. But until then, thanks for hanging out, and let's get back to the episode. So, we are back, everybody, with Christian Balmer. We are going to do this very, foundational part of the show where we talk about each other's projects and cross promote as much as we can. Because specifically, you are one half in the name of the LNC podcast. So, can you run us like a little bit like, if someone walked up to you on the street and like, you look like someone with a podcast, and once you got over that severe insults to your personhood,
Yeah, how dare you?
the audacity. Once you got over that,
what does that mean? Yeah, what do you
I
mean, you
think
people?
we
Yeah,
all
I
know
think
what it
it's going to
means.
be backwards, but
Oh
yeah,
no, it's
that's
mirrored. It's good. Okay,
it's
so it's
mirrored.
upside down.
Okay,
There we
yeah,
go.
there we
Linktree
go.
up on.
Come
Yep.
follow. Don't
Okay.
worry about my fingers. I was playing with a cat earlier and scratched my finger. My boyfriend's cat fucked me up. So can
Listen,
we cuss on here? I'm sorry.
please. Everyone's always like, "Can we cuss on here?" I'm like, this is not
I
big
didn't
deal.
realize
We
too
can
late.
cuss wherever. It's
I
fine.
can't fuck me up. Yeah.
So say said cat has fucked you up and they felt so bad they want to listen to your podcast. How would you explain it to them? What is the elevator pitch for the show?
Yeah, Lorenzo Taylor and Christian Balmer. That's L and C, both parts. And we started the podcast during COVID.
2020, yeah.
Yeah, because we worked together
Oh, okay.
in Blacksburg, Virginia at a grocery store. That's where we met, working together. And during the pandemic, when shit hit the fan, I had a bunch of like recording equipment that I wanted to use for music. And I was listening to
Right.
Joe Rogan and Your Mom's House and Comedy Bang Bang and a whole bunch of podcasts, and was like, why don't I try this out? I think well in advance of stand-up comedy, that was my foray into trying something I didn't have any business attempting, or that I was like, I can do this. There's some dipshit off the street.
Yeah.
I can start a podcast and blow it up. But we recorded at home at the place I was subletting, and it was a good time. It was just kind of casual. I did everything with like ramshackle camera stands, and I had just a little audio interface I got online to hook into my laptop, and edited everything in post. So like all the separate recordings just going at once, just like how you clapped at the beginning. It was quite an undertaking.
That is a leftover from when I was doing it remotely during COVID, where it would be me and my co-host, or me and my co-host and a guest, and I was recording all of our audio individually, and then they were recording all their audio individually, so I had to like mash it up in Audacity and just like it.
Audacity, yeah, I tried to use. I could not understand Audacity to save my life, so I switched over to PreSonus.
Do you like it?
I don't use that shit anymore because I mean, it was okay. I got the job done, but I felt like the product was always different each time. I could not figure out how to format it and make everything the same or come out the same way. And I edited all the video and everything together in Sony Vegas, which I still use.
Okay.
I've tried Adobe Premiere, but once you do Sony Vegas or Magix, I don't think you can go back. It's just behavior.
I'm using CapCut, which is a mistake, frankly, because I know it will be banned by the U.S. government any day now. Because when TikTok first went away, they got rid of CapCut because it's owned by the same company. And like, what is it? Like DaVinci is expensive as hell. Adobe's expensive as hell. So
Adobe's
it's sort of
too expensive. So if CapCut goes away and you're watching this and you're editing videos, you're looking for a new service, just pay for Sony Vegas, whatever the latest version is. Even the oldest version of Sony Vegas can do everything you need to do. You don't need a bunch of fancy transitions and editing. Nobody's looking for that, and you can actually get a lot out of it for like a one-time payment of like $300 or $400. Wait until Christmas time to the holiday season. You can always get like a Black Friday deal.
Yeah, okay.
And it's a one-time payment. You never have to pay like a monthly fee.
I do love a one-time payment.
Yeah,
And
I've spent double on Adobe products that I've never successfully used once than I have on Sony Vegas, which I've used for, I mean, each episode that wasn't live.
and you are doing so. You started in 2020, even before stand up. But you were I know you've posted on your Instagram, and this isn't always adhered to as someone who set this podcast updated every Wednesday, and this is our first episode maybe in a month. That's the way it goes. You were uploading like every Tuesday and Thursday. How do you manage that sort of workload with the
I
reality of
don't,
like doing stand up and
I
also
don't,
working and doing all this shit? Like
no,
it's too much.
I had to bring the axe down on
Yeah,
that. We both did, Lorenzo and I, because we stopped working together.
yeah.
Our paths diverged, and I moved back home with my family, and Lorenzo moved back home with his, and then
Mm,
he was bouncing around up in Maryland, up in
okay.
Salisbury,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
where my family's actually from, or my mom's side of the family is
Really?
from Salisbury.
Okay.
So, like, there's there was a running gag of when we get to 100 subscribers, we would do a
A live
what
show.
is it? No, we would do a genealogical test, like yeah,
Oh,
to figure out our heritage and see if we're actually related because it's a small town. And but he's up there. He's doing comedy up there actually off and on at
okay.
in Del Mar in
Oh,
Delaware
the
with
big or Dream Big?
yeah, Dream Big venues.
Yep.
He knows all those
I
guys. He used to work there. So
okay.
you,
I've done a
chances are
few
you've
things
met
there,
Lorenzo at one point. Yeah, uh,
possibly.
we'll have to see. Yeah, he's like I said, off and on, but for a while he did like the concessions there, and he knows everybody. But sorry, I'm all over the place. But I
That's the way it goes. We're
we
here to
could
yap.
not we could not do that
It's
upload
too
schedule
much.
for very long,
Yeah.
and it was ambitious. It was just because we didn't really have shit going on. But the moment our lives kind of
Uh-huh.
took over, now my policy is whenever we're free,
We
if we
do
can
it.
sit down and do it, we do it. And we kind of just go by how many guests we book
Mm,
and when. So like if
yeah.
say you're going to come do our podcast, I hope pretty soon. Once we lock in a date, that's when
Hmm.
he and I come together and, and record. So it's kind of
Makes
just
sense.
make sure you're subscribed, turn on that notification bell, and
Like,
then you'll
follow,
see when
all
we
that.
upload. Yeah.
But you've done out of that, like even when I was doing my last show, which we made it to 50 episodes, I think, and we that was during COVID, so we had all the time in the world. And specifically,
Mhm.
it wasn't even the recording time, it was just the editing. And it was like the second I was able to go outside again, I just didn't have time to edit a podcast weekly, let alone bi-weekly, like streaming all these voices together, etc.
Yeah.
But you've done like 130 episodes of this thing already, and
Uh, in keeping with my unsolicited advice trend, I'll tell you right now, I used to edit everything just like you do in
yeah.
software, chop it all up, do all of the switching after the
Uh-huh.
fact,
Normalize the
yeah.
loudness, get the noise removal, yep.
Yes, sir. And I said, I'm done with that. We're gonna do it live. I'm gonna live switch everything. And that was okay. I didn't have the best connection in the world and the
Yeah,
best tech setup for a live component, but doing it live introduced me to Streamlabs and
yeah,
OBS, and I realized I could be live switching and doing everything in real time as we record, and I've
that you
never
need
gone
to do.
back. And
Yeah.
that's what I do. So I do all our transitions. I
Okay.
have everything queued up. I am the engineer of of our podcast as we're talking to each other. So
As you're
you
doing
know,
it live.
for a
And
while I was sacrificing a little bit of my brain space and and attention span, but I've I've really it's a muscle now. I just know how to switch things, and I have a
mhm,
board or whatever, and
yeah,
I can do it all and still engage in the conversation.
do a hard transition because, like, I can do that for the majority of my interviews, and they're all great. And this is not about anyone who's been on this show, but I've done some interviews where someone's like calling in from their phone in the laundry room, and it's like their phone is this far away from their face, and I
Yeah.
have to get their audio good to go and make it
Hmm.
something reasonable. So I haven't fully released those talons just yet, but maybe someday. Maybe we'll get this one back moving
You'll see that still happens with me where I'm like, I'm just too nice to say
up.
anything, or like, can you sit the fuck
Like
down and
like
actually like speak
stop
into the
moving for like
mic?
30 seconds.
But
Um,
Lorenzo and I will joke around that,
yeah,
and we'll make the person feel ashamed of themselves usually, and then they actually sit down and
good,
participate in the show.
good. As a Catholic, shame is a very important tool, I would say.
There we go.
So, do you have any big hopes, big plans, what you want to do next? Like maybe upcoming guests that you like a lot? Like, could you get Adam Sandler on the podcast since you've met him?
Oh no, that was we were in Richmond.
Yeah, and
Those were
he
my
was in
friends.
Richmond, which is wild.
He was playing the Altria Theater,
Oh, okay.
and he was just walking on the sidewalk,
Just
kind of
hanging
like
out.
that guy who met Stavros.
Yeah, walking through the sidewalk.
That
Just like,
probably wasn't even Adam Sandler at the end of the
no,
day.
that's just
Probably
some man
just some
with
guy. Yeah.
some guy with sunglasses. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I wonder if ever I haven't watched all of your podcasts, but I wonder if at this point in the show everyone realized that Jake is actually like actively like researching their Facebook, or like like
I
learning about their whole life story.
I've had a few people get really freaked out by it. It's like, where did you
Oh,
find this? Like, babe, it's all public. It's
it's
all
all
there.
public. Yeah, no,
It's
I'm
all
not
ready
freaked
to
out, but
go.
I can see the gears turning of someone else being like, how does he know where I've
How did you
been?
know what I posted on
How did he get
Facebook
that picture?
publicly 10 years ago? It's
Because
like,
you'll just
it's,
yeah, because you'll post something to or I guess in my case I'll post that to Facebook as a
yeah.
kid and then
Hmm.
never think about it again. But that's so funny that it's
And it's
still
out
there.
there. Um,
He was really chill. I and
I bet he
actually about that
was.
story, I
Yeah.
swear, in hindsight, looking back on it, he was walking around talking to somebody,
Yeah.
and when we kind of like all as a huge gang approached him and was like, "Hey, can we get
Hey, can we just take a selfie?
a?" And that other person stepped away,
Yeah.
and just waited for him. But I'm pretty sure that was Al Franken he was
No fucking
talking
way.
to. Yeah,
I mean, in Richmond, yeah, that makes sense. Like
I'm
right
like
near DC.
90% positive. So yeah, rest in peace, Al Franken. His career. Well, he's making a comeback, but still.
Again, you can't get
He-
canceled if
yeah.
you
What
are
did
just some white guy. It's never gonna happen to you. I'm so sorry.
true?
Fucking
No.
Kevin Spacey still skulks around Baltimore at any given time. I could
Well,
run into
yeah,
him.
he lives there, right? And
He did. He sold his mansion. It went to like
oh, poor
foreclosure, but
baby.
I think he's still around. If you like
You know,
go to
he's yeah. He sorry. This is like the nature of doing
no, do
shit
it.
online.
Yeah.
I mean, he did you see Tim Dillon's teaser for his comedy special?
No. Is it
It was a Netflix special. I hear
yeah.
the special's like mid, so don't waste your time or any of
Sounds
that.
like Tim. Yep.
But the teaser was with Kevin Spacey as Frank Underwood, and
Jesus.
a Netflix approved advertisement. So I mean, he's Netflix is already basically signing his return to stardom.
Again, it's not real. You cannot get fully canceled
No.
ever. You just come on right back. That's why I have a 2025 bingo right here off screen, and
Uh
on
huh.
it, I think Ryan Murphy. This is his year. Something's going to come out about him. We'll be done with Ryan Murphy. The Glee reboot will never happen. Something
Yeah.
will occur, and then in 2030, we'll get the Glee reboot once Ryan Murphy comes back from
Is
some
that the
canceling.
teacher?
No, Ryan Murphy, the
Yeah.
creator
Who's
of Glee
pull
and
him?
American
Okay.
Horror Story and Nip Tuck.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know the show. I don't know the show creator. I thought you were talking about one of the actors, and I was like, who's Ryan
No,
Murphy?
that's like
Yeah.
Matt Mercer or something like that. The
I'm
teacher.
not gay enough for Glee. I never have been. Yeah.
I
I
I
sat that
famous.
one out.
You did not miss much. It is a fever dream of early 2000s political correctness at its worst. It is unhinged, but the thing is, as it's aged, it's really aged well because it's camp. It's circled around. It's
Oh,
perfect,
good.
and it's insane. Namely, because Leah Michelle is a bad person. I'm going to say that now, but
Really? Oh, yikes.
yeah, she seems to be a little racist. There's a rumor that she shit in a co-star's wig. You know what?
NCW. That's
Uh huh.
based. I'm just gonna come out and say it. That's
Like
bad. We see what Jared Leto's doing during like Suicide Squad.
sending dead
Let
animals
her
to their
take a
cast
poop
members.
in somebody's headgear. Let's just let that happen.
So I have defamed enough Broadway talent. So we are reaching the end of our show. Christian, is there anything coming up you want to promote? Anything you want to let people know about? Anything that you want people to be aware of?
We're doing a showcase this June,
Mhm.
next month at Fat Pete's Barbecue on June 7th. So be on the lookout for those tickets. So we do have a showcase coming up on May 24th that I will no longer be at, but I still want to plug. It's our anniversary of Cheers Comedy, the production outfit that I'm a member of, that M. Fisk started 5.5 years ago. We missed the 5 year anniversary, but we're making it up for the five
Keep
and a
track.
half year mark. Check that out. Romaine is gonna come headline it for us. It's gonna be a good time. What else? This is me like grasping at straws, trying to think of it. Tomorrow night, I don't know if this will come out in time, but every second Wednesday of each month, my band will be performing for free at Fat Pete's Barbecue from
Okay.
8:30 to about 10:30 ish. It's kind of a loose end time, but we start at 8:30. Come see us, the Continental Jazz Congress there, and of course the L and C podcast is still alive and well. This I don't know if this is going to make the cut or whatever, but I just learned today before we recorded that Lorenzo's dad was killed in a car accident, which is, I mean, like
Yeah.
I'm really
Holy
like
shit.
at a loss for words. Like they weren't that close, right?
But
But
still, that's his
we did
dad.
we did that's his father, and
Yeah.
we talked to him on the podcast. So I encourage everyone to go find that episode and watch it. We talked to the guy. He was an avid motorcycle enthusiast, and I guess somebody just plowed him down at, like, they ran through a red light and took his life. And it seems like this person who did that is looking at maybe like a citation or something. And I'm pledging
Jesus.
here and now to make sure that this bitch does not see anything other than a jail cell
The
in
jail
her near
time.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's, I mean, how do you get? Yeah, it's, please be careful driving, everybody. Like, I do mean it, and
Wear
I'm
your seatbelt. Please drive safe.
wear your
Respect fucking red
seatbelt.
lights. Like,
Observe the other people on the road with you, though. I mean, for crying
just
out loud.
that's all we can ask. It's click it or ticket. Like, was beat into me as a child, and now hopefully it responds as an adult.
Yeah, sorry to bring the mood down or
No,
anything,
it's
but I mean,
fine. I was trying to find like a decent enough transition, but everything else seems very
yeah,
disrespectful to the victims of road violence and just like driving
Lorenzo
culture.
Taylor Sr. Um, I mean, I'm still learning about the facts, but it was just an hour or so ago that he
Jesus.
texted me and told me that his dad passed away on Sunday. So
Okay.
it's just,
It's
it's an
recent, it's
outrage.
rough, and it's just present. So again, for whoever's
Mhm.
listening, just like driving is fucking dangerous. We're driving like 3-ton steel boxes into each other. Like, just fucking look both ways. Don't be like this.
Yes, so please send Lorenzo your well
Yes.
wishes, and let him know that you're with him, and that, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Sorry. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said anything
No, it's
in
fine.
hindsight,
Again,
but
the
just
whole point of this show is to like let the folks I bring to the show give them more than 10 minutes just to like express themselves and be who they are, and that's
mhm.
part of it. So it's all part of the humanization of what we're doing here, and
Yeah.
this
I
is
could have
the
saved it for therapy, though. Yeah.
I know, but
It's
listen,
the
what is a
glasses. You seem so, like, wholesome and, like, ready to, just take everything I can offload.
what is a podcast but therapy for the folks who can't afford it? And if they want to find your podcast, I feel even awful doing this transition. If they want to find you, talking about
Yeah,
your
how
upcoming
dare
stuff,
you?
how
How
dare
dare you
I will
transition?
see you in hell for this transition. And you know what? I was going to be there anyway. If they want to find
Mhm.
you, where can they do that? What's the handle? What's the promo? What's the at?
Balmer Boy with a 0 on Instagram. please come find me. And if you get to Instagram, there in my description is a link tree to all of my endeavors, including the podcast. So come find the
Yes.
podcast there, or just straight up on YouTube. It's L and C, L ampersand
Yes.
C podcast. And we do have 130 something episodes. Some of them you have to go to the live tab to
Mm,
find. I think the one we did with Lorenzo's dad is just before the end of the live tab, so you can just go through our regular feed and find that. But life is short, y'all. Life is short. Do not take any moment for granted. If you want to pursue something that you've always dreamed of pursuing, if it's art, if it's like a different career, make it happen. Make it happen, and live every moment to its fullest, because some dipshit might just run you over at a fucking intersection. So go do stand up comedy. That's my pitch. My elevator pitch for stand up.
Go do stand-up comedy because it's slightly, ever so slightly, maybe like 2% better than dying, I would say, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for listening. Please check out the LNC podcast, specifically the episode with Lorenzo's dad, so you can hear what he has to
And be on
say.
the lookout for our episode with Jake here
Yes,
as well. We're going to make
yes,
that happen.
we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna schedule that down, and we
And I
will.
want to I want to do a co-stream sometime with
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I don't talk about a lot
Uh,
here because it's like a whole different world. But like something on
yeah.
Twitch, we'll pick a game, we'll play a game, we'll do some sort of Overwatch is dead. We don't really know what we're doing out here anymore, but we'll figure it out. If you want to see that, it'll probably be on Summer Nerds at Twitch TV or on my socials. That's Jake My Day. Please come out to the next Laugh Track show. I will put that in the break, so you've already heard it. Until then, please follow Christian. Please keep yourself safe, and please have a good night. We're gonna call it here. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.